Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at MSDynamicsWorld.com. On this episode, I welcome back Microsoft MVP AJ Ansari to chat about one of the newest updates to Microsoft's partner benefits, a series of launch benefits announced in early 2024. Microsoft Channel Chief Nicole Deason recently published a State of the Channel blog post update, and it indicated that these partner launch benefits, which range in price from a few $100 to a few $1,000, will remain in place heading into Microsoft's next fiscal year. AJ has been evaluating the various levels of benefits, and he tells me that any current Microsoft partner or company considering becoming one might find some real value in one of these offers. We chat about the elements of each level of benefits, what it says about Microsoft's priorities with channel engagement, and how these offers differ from other channel updates that AJ and I have talked about in the past. This is a great chance to catch up. We had been corresponding a bit, and it really centered around, some new ideas, new thoughts you had about partner benefits that originally were announced just a few months ago. So they've had a bit of a chance to settle into the channel, I guess you'd say, and now you're starting to see some interesting opportunities there. Why don't we kind of remind our listeners what it is I'm talking about here?
Sure. So, Microsoft's always had some programs for service partners. And so if you're a Microsoft partner and you're a transacting partner, you've probably been introduced to or are familiar with concepts like the internal use rights or the Microsoft Action Pack, right? And, maybe the use or how you're intending to use it may be a little different in terms of how Microsoft envisions it and how partners have. Microsoft maybe intends for you to use these applications that you get or the licenses you get through the internal use rights or the action pack to somehow demonstrate and be able to transact and sell these products to your customers. But partners have really come to start using them internally, quite literally using them for internal use, right? And to run their organizations. And so these have been of great value to partners. And Microsoft over the years has continued to evolve these. So specifically for really small partners that did not have any type of certification or did not have any other entitlements, they could purchase something called the Action Pack. And that was pretty neat. You would get a lot of different things through it. You would get some business management applications. You could get Windows SKUs. You might get SQL SKUs, your ERP system SKUs, and so on and so forth. And in recent years, Microsoft's continued to evolve this. So this particular program we're talking about, it's three-pronged. And it's the one I think that is probably going to get the most love from very small Microsoft partners and new ones is called the Partner Launch Benefits. And then there's two other levels of that. It's like two other versions of it for slightly larger small businesses. One's called the Partner Success Core Benefits, and yet another is called the Partner Success Expanded Benefits.
Yeah, so three separate or I guess stepped up different options that the partners can invest in. And my first impression thinking back to it, because we covered this when the announcement went out in January 2024, my thought was, okay, well, there are a range of optional things that some partners might choose to purchase if they think there's value in, getting those additional discounted sort of business premium seats or like you were saying, have opportunities where they could really use that and enjoy the discount on it. But I guess I then kind of moved on because, it wasn't something I was directly dealing with, and I figured it would sort of shake out. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you've sort of thought about those or how your thinking about them has evolved.
Yeah, I think like you, I became aware of the program a few months ago, and then I quickly put that in my rearview mirror because we are a mid-sized partner, and we typically get a lot of our benefits as part of the gold partner, the legacy gold partner at this point. And I'm sure other partners our size that have achieved solution provider designation, they're getting their most of their application benefits through the solution partner designation. So it wasn't really applicable to me, right? And until one of my business partners brought this up, and he highlighted something that I missed the first time around. The cost of entry, that the lowest of the three packages or the lowest of the three offerings that we were talking about, the partner launch benefits, that is for $345 a year. And then he started listing a couple of the things that were in there. And I'm like, no, clearly you're missing this. Are you sure it's not 345 a month? And he goes, no, it's 345 a year. So then that drove me to go back and look at this. And to my great surprise, what I realized is that a lot of really small partners, if you are a small organization and you just set up shop and you probably have a couple of people in your business at this time, what are some of the most important things you probably need to run your business? An email account, probably access to Word and Excel and PowerPoint and so on, those core productivity tools of the trade. You might need, I would say, a business management system, something to run your business, right? I think so for that size, Business Central is probably something that you might use. You may need some other odds and ends in terms of applications that's typically covered under Microsoft. Microsoft used to have called MSDN or now Visual Studio. So Visual Studio Professional. CRM system, track opportunities, leads. So Dynamics 365 for sales. You think of those things, and Microsoft has packaged precisely those things in very small quantities. So at that lowest $345 SKU, you're getting 5 seats of Microsoft 365 Business Premium. You're getting 1 subscription of Visual Studio Professional, 4 seats of Business Central, and of Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise. And then if you are the type of business that's creating applications or creating things in Azure or need a server to run something on your business, they're also giving some Azure credit. So I think this was very nicely shaped. Every once in a while, Microsoft comes up with some unicorn plans, right? And I thought this was truly a unicorn plan and a set of unicorn plans for the small partner that needs something to get started. And so as I started going back and looking at it, I was just quite amazed at the value. And I thought this is definitely something we need to talk about. We can get into details about the other SKUs and some of the other, kind of what the entry, what kind of the bar to entry is as well, right? I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's and you're right. I mean, as you think about that number, $345, so $30 a month, 4 seats of sales, 4 seats of Business Central alone. I mean, at $30 a month, I mean, that alone would be a great deal. You add in the other things, I feel like I'm selling it. But yeah, it sounds like a lot of value there. And so as you sort of lay it out, especially for a smaller business, there's a lot of their overhead that's sort of checked off, right? With that benefit level. I wonder if people are jumping on it. I mean, it seems like something that would really appeal to a certain segment.
Well, this is one of the things that you see with Microsoft being Microsoft. They will not disclose details on usage. Now, we may hear some qualitative analysis of its uptake. I think before we started recording, you alluded to a podcast, to a new blog from Microsoft. And in that blog from Nicole Dizon, the Chief Partner Officer at CVP Global Partner Service Solutions, she talked about how this has been well received and they will continue it. Right. I think that alone is an indicator that they're seeing the results maybe that they're hoping to see. But I would be very surprised if we were to see any kind of quantitative reporting of its adoption, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 2 months beyond the almost exactly 2 months beyond the announcement of these benefits. So yeah, it would be probably hasty for them to make any sort of changes, right?
Right.
But I think it's a chance. This was a state of the channel kind of a blog post that the Chief Partner Officer typically puts out around this time of year, I think. And so it made sense for her to mention it, but it was really mixed in with really a whole range of other initiatives, partner programs, a lot about Microsoft AI Cloud. So, I think it's the kind of thing where no news is good news. They have obviously a plan to, offer these and let partners start, consuming them, if that's the right word, or purchasing them. But yeah, I would have been, it's just that, as we were getting ready to talk here, I saw that blog post and I thought, okay, is this going to change our conversation? I don't think it does. I think everything still stands, which is nice.
Yeah. And, coming back to partners who might actually think about using it, a lot of times when you look at these small partners or somebody who's just looking to become a Microsoft partner, The bar was already lowered some years ago with the cloud service provider program, right? The CSP program. And Microsoft had the direct motion, where partners of size can purchase directly from Microsoft or transact directly through Microsoft. And then really small organizations could transact through these indirect CSPs, the very large ones. I don't want to name one and forget a few, but I think, who we're talking about, the big giants who a lot of, small and mid-sized partners continue to buy from. And so typically, if you're going to be a Microsoft partner and transact, those are two of the things you do. You sign up for your MPN account, and you probably find one of the indirect CSPs and go sign up to buy licenses through them. And Microsoft, I guess, maybe looked at that and said, to get these benefits, we really expect you to be a Microsoft partner through that AI Cloud Partner Program, or what was formerly just the Microsoft Partner Program. And that's all. And your account has to be verified. So the bar is set very low. You get in just by being a partner, having your account verified. And I think at that point, it just becomes a matter of getting these partners in early to eat Microsoft's own products, to eat kind of the own dog food that you're going to sell. Because once you're doing that, if you think about it, now you're not getting onto G Suite, you're not getting into QuickBooks. You yourself as a small partner, somebody who might look to those applications as a cheaper entry point, you wouldn't do that. You come here. You could possibly drive some revenue to other Microsoft partners who may help these businesses set up some of these SKUs, especially when you're talking about the CRM, right? Dynamics 365 for Sales or Business Central. That could put some of that revenue. I wonder if that went into Microsoft's calculation, but it does kind of stimulate the economy too a little bit. I imagine some services between Microsoft partners, which undoubtedly then might cause these partners to grow and then buy more or upgrade to another program. So just like I said, once in a while there's a unicorn, and I don't get very excited about a lot of announcements. You'll often hear me in my blog posts or my presentations talk about separating the Kool-Aid and talking about the real. But I do think this one's about as without Kool-Aid as you get.
Well, we've been talking about the partner launch benefits primarily here, I think. But there are two other levels, as you mentioned. Is it worth touching on some of the highlights there? Because when you look at it through that same sort of frame of reference, yeah, I mean, a lot more, very interesting elements to each of those. And just for example, jumping up to the next level, the success core benefits, $895 a year. I won't list them all here, but 15 seats of Business Central and 15 seats of Sales Enterprise as at that $895 a year point, plus a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right. And it's the other stuff too, right? On the one hand, you start seeing these additional SKUs, but then you have the things that a transacting partner would need for your customers. So you have some technical consultation services, right? We use consults from Microsoft a lot more than I think we use support cases. So they've thrown in 5 hours of that, and there is some signature cloud support thrown in as well, a couple incidents, and some, I think, a bucket to deduct against technical pre-sales. So there's all kinds of interesting things. I think they're looking at this truly as you come in the door as a very small partner with partner launch benefits. You get some marketing benefits and all the things we talked about. And then as you grow, you might want to scale up to that next level. And what are you going to need? You'll need some consults from Microsoft. You'll need some support. So you can, I guess, switch from the first level program to that second level, and you're getting more. And then when you get to that next level above that, the success expanded, now you're getting an insane amount of value. That is also probably the biggest jump in price, right? $345 to $895 when you get from partner launch benefits to the success core benefits. And then from success core benefits up to the success expanded benefits, that's the highest SKU offered. That's from $895 to $3,995. So that's a significant increase in the cost to a partner. But this is where it starts to truly resemble, I think, what a well-oiled operational partner that's profitable and so on would get or would need. 35 seats across the board of business, Microsoft 365, Business Premium, Business Central, and Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise. And then you're getting at this level $4,000 worth of Azure credits. That is some serious baggage, right? I mean, for comparison, I don't think this is in any way supposed to be behind NDA. So I'll share with our gold legacy benefits and the level that we are. There's a lot of different things, but to pick up a few important ones, we're getting, I think, probably about maybe around 100 M365 email type of SKUs or E3 SKUs. I think we get about 25 or so Business Central SKUs. I think a few around maybe that or a little bit higher Dynamics 365 sales, and about $6,000 in Azure credit. So this is not very far off from what we are getting as a full-fledged partner. And the cost to an organization to do that is $3,995. Now, interestingly, too, Jason, you and I think we talked about that Microsoft, the value they associate to each of these subscriptions, right? And that's like much like seeing a return on investment number that you get. It's how do you truly get to that? But they have some very lofty numbers here. So for the $345 SKU, the partner launch benefits, they claim that's a $14,000 value. I mean, yeah,
I don't think I'd seen that.
Yeah. And then the next one up, the Success Core Benefits, the one where a partner would pay $895. Microsoft estimates a retail value of that at $62,000. To go back and just kind of look at it, there's some marketing benefits, there's some support hours, and so on. I think that's where maybe the calculation goes a little bit in a way that Microsoft pick numbers that are favorable for marketing purposes to display. But those 15 seats across the board are not cheap either. And then the last one where you're paying $4,000, Microsoft assumes or calculates a total retail value of just shy of $400,000. So whether you choose to, regardless of whether you agree with these numbers or not, I think what is correct and what is absolutely not up for argument is it's good for new partners. If you're a very small organization, and if you're worried about the cost of running your business being an impediment to getting into and becoming a Microsoft partner, I think this is a great deal. Even if you're not going to be a Microsoft transacting partner, even if you're not considering selling Microsoft product today, there's an argument to be made that you should sign up for Microsoft for an MPN ID and probably take use of this. Along the way, you might actually find something here that you might want to sell to your customers, or at least utilize some of the resources that Microsoft's utilizing to help grow your business.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. If I was going to, find something to pick at in these lists of benefits, it's sort of how some of the numbers seem a little out of proportion with each other. So, 35 seats of of Microsoft 365 Business Premium at the top end is great, but does every one of are you going to need 35 the sort of business productivity users and then also 35 in your CRM? Like what kind of an organization
Probably
are we talking
not,
about there?
Right?
I'm sure that's not, it's not meant to be one size fits all or to fit it, but still, I think some of those numbers are, I struggle to understand exactly who they're going after for that. Who's not already an established partner or a larger organization with, other IT sort of purchasing plans already in place for their productivity apps, for their CRM. So yeah, that is an interesting one. I do scratch my head about who's going to buy that one. But certainly for the first one and even the second tier. So one thing I wanted to just jump back to before I forget, you mentioned the technical consultation services and the value you get out of those. When do partners typically use those, or when do you tend to use those? I'm thinking it could be in the pre-sale scenarios. It could be in the midst of a partner engagement. What's your approach?
You could use them in a lot of different places. It's certainly not meant for support. It's not the I'm stuck and how do I do this? I'll give you an example where we use it. When Copilot was announced and the pricing for Copilot was announced, there was a lot of gray area where a lot of gaps in between, and we couldn't figure out. As a good example, you could see that you could acquire Copilot for Microsoft 365 for $30 a month in the United States. But then there was also another SKU called the Copilot Studio that was standalone. In the Copilot for M365 comparison chart, or kind of the tabulation of benefits and things you'd get, Copilot Studio appeared to be included. So you go like, wait, if it's included, why am I also able to buy it separately? And wait, why does the price for the standalone one look so high? And over time, I think more of that information has become available on Microsoft Learn. But in the immediate, days after this announcement had come out, we weren't sure. So this is where we went to we're a direct CSP with Microsoft, so we went to our CSAM and we asked her to help us open a cloud consult. And so somebody from one of the program areas would usually join these calls. They take our questions. Sometimes they have to escalate and come back. At times they know the answers. They will plug in with resource documents that are associated. So when you leave, you have a much clearer understanding of how things work. They also helped us a lot. Another case with the Power Platform licenses you get with Business Central. How are they different from the standalone Power Platform, Power Apps, or Power Automate type of licensing, and so on. A lot of that is actually on Microsoft Learn, but sometimes being able to just see it in a tabular form or get some very specific, unique, permutation and combination type of answers, that can take a lot of reading and still go like, am I doing it right? And that was very helpful to us as well. So that's the type of stuff we typically use our cloud consoles for. And I find we do maybe about around 5 a year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Interesting. I was just thinking back also to one of the last times you were on our podcast. I can't remember if it was the very last time, but it was you and Peter Wolf, right? And we were sort of evaluating some of the scoring that Microsoft did around the partner performance, right? And some of the
cloud partner program, the new cloud partner program,
and some of the ins and outs of that, and you're trying to make sense of it. Does something like this appeal to you and probably other partners because it's so clear cut and there's really no mystery to it, that it's transactional. It's very transactional, but at the same time, that's very simple and easy to follow.
It is. It absolutely does. I think we certainly like that. I like clarity. I think anything that's clear and easy to follow is good. And going back to the cloud consults, even when the cloud partner program had come out, for a lot of the answers that we couldn't understand or the grievances that we wanted to air, we often use the cloud consult as our way to it. I'll tell you in kind of a little bit of a funny backstory. When we first started working with our CSAM, she would often tell us, have you used any cloud consults, or you haven't used any cloud consult? And we would go on these monthly calls saying, all right, if there's a bingo card, somewhere in that bingo card is cloud consult, because she's going to try to sell us on it. But then once we started to use it, we truly understood the value of it. It was our way to get questions answered. She wouldn't have those answers. It's not her role as a CSAM to have those answers, but boy, she could get us connected with the people who do.
CSAM is Cloud Solution Account Manager?
Oh, yeah. I think like maybe customer. Yeah, I'm now going to have to look that up really quickly. So we're going to do this on the fly. I actually do not know yet. Too many acronyms, right?
Right. So, okay. Well, I feel better just knowing that you don't know. You don't know off the top of your head.
It's a PSAM. So I think we had a different CSAM, Partner Success Account Manager.
Nice. Okay, great. Well, what else do we want to talk about here? I think the other thing I took from when you were first sort of discussing this idea with me was you see some really interesting opportunities around these benefits, right? And how people can take advantage of them.
Right. So many years ago, my wife has a small business. She's a small business owner. And when she first got started, we signed her up as a Microsoft partner. This was many years ago, back in 2015. And because at that point, we were just kind of playing around with different ideas in addition to the one idea she had to start, right? We're like, what other things can she do on the side? And I remember how easy it was to get signed up and to sign up with the CSP. And then we never did anything with it because that really wasn't her area of focus. But I found myself thinking, this is probably a great opportunity. Now she's sold that business, closed that out, and she's got another venture that she's in. And I was thinking, there's a reason for her to maybe get a Microsoft Partner ID. Like I was telling you earlier, even if you're not selling or in that traditional Microsoft partner space, until and unless Microsoft creates some other additional, restrictions to access to this program, there is no reason why other small businesses can't look at this as something to save on the cost of licensing. I think in the case of in her situation, she probably spends about $1,000 in Microsoft licensing, a year or thereabouts, or actually more than that. But with the $895 a year SKU, that would cover all the needs that she has. In fact, they would give her a few licenses to spare, and she might even be able to roll off of QuickBooks that would save her even more money, right? So I'm looking at this from a practical standpoint and saying, why should an organization like hers that is more around concierge services and education consulting not look at having an MPN ID? and not look at benefiting from this. So that was an idea. I've even thought about jokingly. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I get some email licenses and Power BI premium licenses from Microsoft for the purpose of testing, development, and all the free work that I kind of the work that I do as a evangelist in the community. But I haven't gotten any Business Central licenses for Microsoft, right? And I'm thinking, boy, $345. I don't mind spending that out of pocket, right? To get some Business Central licenses for some of the MVP content I create. And I think, if the only thing I have to do is create another sign up individually as a Microsoft partner, not to compete against DSWi. I'm not going to compete against myself here, but this is a small separate thing because as an MVP, I have a separate NDA, not linked to my business NDA. So I've got to, maybe take advantage of this little program. So those were, I think, some of those interesting ideas that came up. I don't know how Microsoft really feels about it. I imagine, the end goal is to have partners that will transact and sell Microsoft products and services and licenses. But I don't know if they necessarily are against partners who may not be doing that actively. Maybe there's some other play long term that comes up.
Yeah, I think ultimately that Microsoft will look at how this performs and how it what's the word I'm looking for? Encourages, organizations who get involved with it to actually then, like you said, go out and transact, and that will probably drive the future of these particular benefits, because benefits do change fairly frequently. I mean, they evolve usually. Sometimes they get cut or added like this. But yeah, I think seeing people like you who are active business people in this space taking advantage of it is probably pretty interesting to them. Have you heard any other takes on what some of the opportunities are here? Or is this really just you sort of digging in and thinking about it on your own?
No, so this is really just me digging and thinking about it on my own. I will. I don't know that you and I in our prep for this podcast talked about this part at all, but I'm also an investor in another business. They are primarily an Acumatica partner, but they do have some of your customers that host things in Microsoft Azure. So by extension, they have a need for Microsoft products. And a lot of that type of Azure hosting and so on that they do and other things that they use typically was just purchased through us. And so now we're thinking that they would be a truly use case for this new program. I think they would probably fall under the Success Core benefits or the Success Expanded benefits. They're a profitable transacting partner entity, and they could actually buy direct from Microsoft. And I think that is probably to Microsoft's advantage as well.
Yeah, I really, you could see that opportunity for any services organization. And yeah, maybe we're sort of homing in on some of those points that maybe Microsoft was thinking about. Services organization sort of understands the value of some of these things, and it might entice them to think more about what they're offering what they're offering their clients or how they're offering it to them in terms of the underlying infrastructure that drives those services or those transactions.
With Acumatica, you can either host if you're doing it on premises and you want to host it somewhere on your own private cloud, you could do it on Azure or Amazon Web Services. So I think here's a great play to make the case. Why should you go to Amazon Web Services when you can get something like this to get started with Azure? And once they're part of this program, there's every reason for them to want to continue investing and staying a Microsoft partner. So I think this is probably it. That organization is probably a great poster child for why this program is great.
Yeah, and we weren't really going to dive into sort of the state of the partner ecosystem with, a whole range of priorities there. But, as you sort of think about this in the context of Microsoft's effort to just, shepherd all of its partners into I guess you would call it an AI mindset or an AI first mindset, you can see why they want to perhaps make them feel even more comfortable, maybe feel like they're really being kind of given every opportunity to get the best of the foundational capabilities that would then allow them to start thinking about some of those other priorities. So, maybe that's a bit of a stretch on my side.
No, it's not actually. So, if you're at all familiar with the Microsoft for Startups or the Microsoft Founders Hub, Microsoft, I think, is not just trying to do this on the partner side and try to get partners to get on with the AI play. I think they're also looking for the real entrepreneurs and the folks on the bleeding edge of it all who want to build new organizations, new products, new services that utilize AI services. And instead of having them go to other platforms, they want them to bet on Microsoft. So if you go to Microsoft.com, I think, or if you look for Microsoft for Startups or Microsoft Founders Hub, you'll find that. And you'll see, again, the bar for getting in is very low. All they want to know is that you are actually trying to create a solution around AI. And they're giving you some real money, about $2,500 or so, if I remember correctly, in like Azure credits. And, you can have even more, I think, up to, there was something, if I recall correctly, even upwards of 100K, maybe in Azure credits for the right type of organization. And whether you have funding, oftentimes programs for startups and founders require you to have certain amount of funding or have gone through certain rounds of funding. As I recall, the bar here again was set very low. It was just, the proof that you have something that you're creating that's going to truly utilize these benefits. So I think Microsoft's going for partners, and then Microsoft's also trying to help startups who are going to invest in and around AI. And Microsoft's very much betting, I think, its future on display. I had a LinkedIn post yesterday about something, and they kind of capped it off with, Microsoft's, I think, basically the statement of intent with what they're doing, that this is not going to be a repeat of the smartphone fiasco or kind of the fumble, and this one they're going to get right.
Very good. Well, maybe we can wrap it up there. I'm really glad you brought this idea to me. It's great to hear some of these new plans or new ideas that you're formulating, and I always appreciate the perspective, AJ.
It's my pleasure. I love the forum that you have at MS Dynamics World. I think you have got a lot of different programs and webinars that ISVs go out there to reach their intended marketplace, and those types of commercial programs are great too. There's a lot of value, and then you also reach out to industry influencers, and you're talking to them about changes and things that are happening. So every time one of these new podcasts comes up, I'm always waiting for those, and I enjoy listening to them. And I hope your audience enjoys listening to things that I care about just as much. And hopefully, this one will be an episode that people enjoy hearing.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to stay in touch. I know you have some of your own podcast plans and ideas coming up, so please do keep me in the loop on those. I'll probably be seeing you on the road this spring. I have a busy travel calendar, conference-wise, starting up soon, so a lot more to come, I'm sure.
Yep, you'll see me first at Directions North America, and then from there I think I'm doing a European short trip with BCTechDays, DynamicsMinds, and Days of Knowledge in Germany. So I think that's, and DynamicsCon Live as well. So I think the April, May, June are going to be a bit of a whirlwind for me.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to AJ for joining me. We have some links in the show notes to information related to partner launch benefits and our coverage of them. We'll also include some links to some of the upcoming conferences that AJ and I mentioned in the conversation today. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on social media. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.